do want to talk a little bit about the outcomes and hear how some of your programs have been doing and where the kicks have been with that and that type of thing. Then we're going to talk about the all-important mapping the curriculum, which really becomes one of the most critical things you can do when it comes to assessment, is really understanding how those outcomes play out within the curricular program which you've done. And I can tell you that was the aha for us. When that occurrence happened, that's when we went back and went, oh, because we literally, especially with a lot of adjuncts working on a program together, you get them all in the same room and you say, so talk about your syllabus and talk about your books and what are you doing and talk about your learning. And all of a sudden you hear that 3 people are doing the same thing. And you're going, oh, we don't need this done 3 times. What we need it is to be introduced, and then we need it to be reviewed, and then the student needs to be able to demonstrate that they understand that. That's very different than introduction 3 times full. And so you suddenly, and I anticipate that some of that conversation may occur here today, some of those ahas may not, and some of it may be back when you go back and have your full faculty in front of you. We're also going to then spend some time looking at, so now that we know what the curriculum is and now we know that the levels, where are we collecting evidence? And what types of evidence can we collect that is going to demonstrate our student learning? It's really easy to just go to your capstone course. That is the thing that everybody says. We're just going to take the capstone and we're going to use the capstone. And that's great unless the capstone doesn't prove it. Or unless the capstone you read the first, and seriously within our own group, the first semester I read capstone papers, I came back in the next day and I got my co-chair and I said, I cried last night. It doesn't demonstrate a damn thing. Here I thought, oh, the capstones are going to do it. And what we really found out was they weren't good enough. They were demonstrating, but they weren't good enough. Well, then the question becomes why? Is it the way we designed the capstone assignment that we're using, or is it the things leading up to it? And a wonderful example of this occurred in our critical thinking piece, where we were asking students in a capstone project to compare and contrast elements. And so I went back and said, so where are we teaching students how to compare and contrast? Because that is a learned skill. Don't assume somebody can compare and contrast. Because what they do is that they compare the stuff that they're comfortable with and contrast it with the stuff that they're not comfortable with, instead of truly comparing and contrasting 2 options. So you have to teach students how to compare and contrast. So where are we doing that in our curriculum? And so we had to go back then and go through. So this process is designed to make you think about that. If we want them to achieve this at the end, where are we teaching all those pieces, which makes sense to do at the same time you map the curriculum. At the end, we're going to look at activities and timelines and responsibility and really say, what does this whole assessment process look like? We, as a university, worked on assessing our general education curriculum. And we had a task force and we got together 4 years ago, and at the time, we set out at that time what we thought would be a 2-year plan. It's taken us 4 years to complete the 2-year plan, but we're done. And we knew where we were going. And so it took us a little bit longer because, as we all know, once we get full-time faculty in conversation, it takes a little bit longer, but that's okay. We at least went through it. We have proof that we do it. And now we're sitting and saying, well, so where are we going to go now? What is the next cycle? And who's got the responsibility to see it through? And so where are we going to do? And then I'm going to give you some final thoughts about next steps and where we really want to go the next time we get together. So that's the plan for the day. Okay, that's what we're going to do, and to be able to go through it.